Hello, every bugger. Are we excited for tonight? I'm pretty giddy about it, if I'm honest. Let's do the let's get rid of the sound on that. Let boom. Right, welcome. Awesome uses for a dry palette class. That's what we're doing tonight. And for those that have never seen this before, and those that are watching this in the future, I like to do these things live. And the reason I like to do these things live is because you guys get to interact with me. It makes the experience more fun. You get to actually ask the questions you want to ask that are relevant to the subject. Let's try and keep it that way. And so I can teach you in a more effective manner as opposed to being just some guy on YouTube who goes, do this and trust me. I have a very particular way of teaching. That's based on asking questions and getting you to have the answers. Did I say that right? Not getting you to, but for me to draw the answers out of you, because I actually firmly believe this. Okay? You started off in this hobby a fantastic painter, and then through dogma and marketing, essentially you got crapper. Okay? Right? Everyone just basically got poor from that point on, regardless of how good or how bad you thought you were when you started out. Yeah. Now, the reason I ask you a lot of questions is because I actually draw that information out of you. A lot of the answers you're going to give me that help you learn will come from you, which kind of proves the point, really. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, educo, the word education, the Latin word for education, means to draw out from within. Yeah, it's not to take in from outside. It's to, yeah. So it's all already in you, and generally it's been masked. Now there's gonna be some things that are that I'm gonna just outright show you, because, in fact, whatever you can't get the answer for, I'm just gonna outright show you. But asking questions is important in learning. So I'm going to encourage you guys to ask questions as well. I'm also going to be asking for responses from you guys, and from you guys that have already been to these things, and you'll already know what I mean. So let's do a quick test run. Can I get a bunch of thumbs ups, or type the word yellow? That's going to be a key thing for today. Type the word yellow so that I know that you have responded to me. Also, so I can gauge an idea of how quickly you respond to me. Yeah, yellow. My daughter, actually, I've been teaching her the word yellow, and whenever I collect all the yellow bricks and go yellow in front of her, she's only one, she laughs her ass off. It's proper funny. Guys, there's loads of you in. Brilliant. Yellow. All right, brilliant. Painting Lemon, good evening. Big Caesar, good evening. Chris Ball, good evening. Fishy, good evening. Tom Jennings, good evening. Stephen Manns, good evening. Shawnee, Mini Malt, good evening. Glyn Owen, good evening. Mark Fisher, good evening. Chris Smith, good evening. Brilliant. 15 of you. That's awesome. So here's an interesting thing. The wet palette class, very well rehearsed at that. I wasn't going to say this because I thought I was being all insecure, but I'm just going to say it anyway because I'm going with the flow. And I appear to be pretty giddy. I've had me salmon and sweet potato salad, so I'm all rocking and rolling. Yeah, I actually have never ran this as a complete kind of lecture, if you will, to any student, to any class. I've ran it piecemeal here and there, yeah, but this is the first time, so this is quite a privilege for me and you guys, you know. Check Christopher Smith out there saying sunburst yellow, showing your age there, or your taste for archaeology. Yeah. So, are we all excited? Who doesn't have a dry palette ready? Who doesn't have a brush ready? Who doesn't have maybe a pen and pad so you could even take notes, like double up on the ways of remembering? It's all about imprinting new circuits. You write it down, you imprint a circuit. Whether you prefer it or not, you imprint a circuit. Yeah, whether you remember it or not, that circuit's in there. Yeah, whether you listen to it verbally, you've imprinted a circuit. Whether you like to do it that way or not, that circuit is still in there. So still do it. Take your likes and dislikes out of it for a second and just go for it. Shawnee D says you're watching from work. You could be working in work, you know, so it's not that sad. And all right, I have no idea how long this is going to take either. That's going to be an interesting one. And I assume all you guys that are you were at the last one. Who wasn't at the last one? And this is the first time experiencing this entity. Some of you might notice I'm sporting the grey miniature painting tutor sweatshirt today with the red star as opposed to the green. Actually reminds me that I need to redo the logo and the opening of all my videos. Mini Malk, first time, where are you listening from, mate? Yeah, the I need to redo my logo from that happens at the beginning of all my videos, and I'd like to do it with the other jumper I've got, green star miniature painting tutor, something like that. Now I'm not entirely a whiz on Photoshop, but we'll see what I can do. You know, time for a full-on rebrand, I think. Mini Malk, Manchester, you met me in person earlier this year. That means I met you in person as well. Whereabouts? Whereabouts? Right. Let's blow the dust off that. Has anybody got one of these as well? Very, very, very useful dry palette. Okay. Right. I've got my notes. See, this is how seriously I take it, but also how unrehearsed I am, because I never work with notes. But at the same time, I trust myself that this information would come out of me naturally. So yeah. All right. Okay. Hi. The Glaive Wraith in purple. Yeah, I remember that. Good stuff. Okay, MWK Painting, good evening. And wow, there's 20 of you in. 20. Okay, one more time. Now that there's 20 of you in, let's test response times. Everybody just type the word yellow. I want to see how quick you can respond, so I know what kind of time we're working with. Now, if the class gets too big, I'm not going to be able to read every comment or answer every question, but I encourage you to ask questions, and I encourage you to just answer as quick as possible, just so we can get this thing flowing. Now, when you answer, try to answer as honestly as possible, and don't just believe me. There's one thing. I don't want you to just believe anything I say. Put it to the test. Yeah? Now, there's two reasons for that. One, I could be wrong. Yeah? And I'm happy being wrong, because that's called learning. Yeah, and we're all here to learn. And even as a teacher and a tutor, that's really what I get out of this. I get to understand my craft a lot deeper, as well as I actually get a kick out of this interaction, I've got to admit. And then the second reason you've got to call it out is because I just tell you why I'm right. Win-win, essentially. You know, and that's all I'm all about, is all of us winning. You know, I love this hobby. It's caused me some anxiety, blah blah blah, over the years, but I absolutely love this hobby, and more than anything, I love teaching you guys. And there's certain moments in private lessons, and a lot of the people that have had private lessons off me have had penny drop moments, and they're the moments I live for. So if you guys have some penny drop moments today, then you've made me a very happy man, you know. So yeah, and I know some of you had them on the first one of these classes. All right, I've waffled enough. 10 minutes waffle. Should we start? Right. You all responded fantastically, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't be bothered counting them. All the big names. Not everybody did. I wonder who's incognito. I wonder if I can see who's who. I'll hunt you down. Yeah. Stealing my material, put it on your YouTube channel. Yeah. Most people steal it wrong, though. Yeah, I know who you are. Just give me a shout out, man. Anyway. Right. Right, here's a big question. Quick with your answers, by the way. What do you use your palette for, regardless of what type of palette it is? What do you use your palette for? Yeah. Now, when you give me the answer, I don't want you to give me new answers. I want you to give me honest answers. I don't want you to think, oh, I could be doing this with it, or I could be doing that. No. You tell me just what's going through your mind when you've got your palette in front of you and you're using it. Simple as that. Yeah. Don't elaborate. Don't be smart. Just go answer. All right. Mix paint, thinness paint. Try stuff out. Mixing, managing paint consistency. Load the brush. In fact, if any of you, my student as well, I'm going to encourage you to not answer, because you already know the answers. All right. And I'll involve you in different ways later on, essentially. So the people who've never been before, I kind of want to give these guys priority, because with those guys not knowing the answers, that's actually the gift to this entire lesson. But essentially, really do what you want. But it's for the sake of learning. We need people to get wrong answers so we can help correct them. Now, if what appears to be an incredibly sensible and right answer pops up, those people with the wrong answer might not pipe up. Now, the things they might not pipe up with, yeah, might not ever be dealt with, and we want to deal with those things. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, so if you already know the answers because you've been having private lessons and there's a number of you in here, then keep it on the download for now. Let's give those people that opportunity to learn in a purer way. Okay, let's look at some answers. Wow, there's a few answers here. Manage your paint consistency, loading your brush with the right amount of paint you need, getting your paint right, controlling your paint, check consistency, blah 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 blah. Brilliant. Mark Fisher, eating sandwiches off of. Brilliant. Right, fantastic. So, lots of good answers there. Not too many wrong answers. Managing paint consistency. Try stuff out. Blah, 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 blah. Brilliant. Right, so because a lot of you guys are already my students, you're all getting the right answers, because a lot of you guys have already met me, or you've been getting good lessons elsewhere, which I know a few of you have. A lot of people will just say, that's where I keep my paint before I use it. Very much like they might as well keep it in a bottle. Pretty much that's the limit of a lot of people's knowledge. So that's not enough though, is it? Yeah. So when we're managing these consistencies, when we're looking for what, how do I say this? When you're using your palette, you've got to realize it's a tool. It's a tool for managing many, many aspects and creating conditions that are ideal. So you can put ideal on your model instead of put a guess on the model. Now, this action is a skill. Yeah. Just because you think you are doing it doesn't mean you're doing it well. Just because you know that's what to do doesn't even mean you know how to do it properly. All right. So a lot of this information, by the way, I'm now assuming there's going to be people watching in the future that have never had a lesson like this. Okay. So let's see what people are saying. Christopher Ball says, yeah, why not take the paint from the bottle instead of the palette? I mean, sometimes it might be a great idea. Sometimes it might not. Depends what you're doing. I always use a palette. All right. So, I've already, right, let me tick this off my list. Bam! Why are dry pallets important? Why are dry pallets important? Does anybody catch the last class? Why are dry pallets important? Even if you use a wet palette, does anyone remember? Testing you here now, aren't I? It's almost like I am actually treating you like me students, like kind of take ownership of you, if you know what I mean. It's called caring, really. You know. Ooh, control's a very broad term, isn't it? But there's a better answer. More control over your environment. That's a very good answer. But there's still a better answer. And you guys, you guys that have been on the class should actually know this, and I'll give you a clue. Not that I necessarily want you to say it yet, but it's top of the list. That's the clue. Right, allows you to test paint on the surface you're about to paint on. All good answers, control paint consistency, blah blah blah. Why are dry palettes important? Why are dry palettes important? You see, almost everybody in some way has had a lesson off me. Alright. Oh, Chris Smith, nearly there. Not quite though. I said the top of the list. That's not the top of the list. In fact, looking at how many people have actually been on a class with me or have had private lessons, it's gonna have to go slightly different than I expected, because there's gonna be lots of right answers. The pallets. Yeah. You're all guessing now. That's what's happening. I can see it. So, for those that have been on my class, the top of the list. Why do you use a dry palette? Why are they important? They give you awareness and choice. Yeah, awareness and choice. Because without awareness and choice, how can you have, as Shawnee D says, more control over your environment? Without awareness and choice, as MWK says, how can you have it allowed to test the paints on a surface similar to what you're about to paint on? Does that make sense? You need awareness and choice in order to make the decision first, and that's what a dry palette allows you to have. A wet palette allows you to have that as well, but it allows you to have it in an environment that matches / simulates the surface you're about to paint on, which is a great answer from Shawnee there. So it gives you awareness and choice. So why is awareness and choice more important than all these consistency answers and setup answers you've given me? Like I said, you need awareness and choice, not just to do these things, but to avoid mistakes as well. Yeah, I'm constantly about awareness and choice, awareness and choice, awareness and choice, and that's about developing you. Nobody can teach you awareness and choice. Just encourage you to open your eyes and look at what's going on, and look at the properties of what's going on, and that is what happens on the palette. Yeah. So develop your awareness and choice. The palette is a tool to do that, and you do it through mediums like paint and washes and your brush and your undercoat colour and all that type of business. Right. Oh man, you get a dry mouth pretty quick, don't you? Egg yolk water. It's a lemon. Some people actually believe me though. Not obviously now. Oh, I don't know. Maybe now. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go back to my list. So, why are dry pallets important? Again. Come on, get your answers in. Or are you all writing it down? Awareness and choice. Yeah, you've got to be able to repeat it back to me. Without a doubt, you've got to be able to repeat it back to me. And the other good thing is, if I get you to repeat it back to me, you know, all these comments that are racking up here on the screen in front of me, they become a permanent record. You know, everybody gets to learn. Paul Cox says, Mr. Sewell. Oh, I see what you're doing there. You don't have to call me that. You don't have to call me that at all. Daniel Farris, welcome. I don't think I said hello to you earlier on, did I? Yeah, you didn't pop up in the list. So yeah, welcome everybody. All right, so has everybody got a nice palette in front of them and a range of paints, obviously? Good brush, clean water, optional. I've got this trusty size 2 Winsor Newton that I've been using for a lot of stuff. Must admit, I'm quite enjoying it. Okay, so I'd like you all to choose a colour that it's not too light, not too dark. Again, you guys that have had lessons with me be familiar with a lot of this, but crack on anyway. It's the time to test and maybe even refine what you've learned, because I can guarantee this is a skill that is continually developed. It's a skill that I'm continually developing as well. Let's narrow your margins of error. Yeah, if you've already done it before. Okay. So, Daniel Farris says red. Mark Fisher says snot green. Okay, Daniel Farris, what kind of red? Mark Fisher, I can guarantee now with snot green, you're going to struggle because snot green's coverage is not that strong. Regardless of what colour you're painting it over. Bear that in mind. Okay. Glyn Owen says dragon red. For Mark Fisher, dragon red, same thing. Daniel Farris, Mephisto red, good choice. Paul Cox, XV88, perfect choice. I've got Calidor Sky, McCrag Blue, Mornfang Brown is perfect. So something with good coverage that's not too light, not too dark. So if you look at it and go, oh, that's a light blue, it's not the right colour. If you look at it and go, oh, that's a dark blue, it's not the right colour. If you look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's a nice blue, it's just blue in it. Yeah, then it's probably the right colour. Okay. Tom Jennings says he's forgot his water. It's like forgetting your PE kit. You're doing it in your underwear from now on. Brilliant. Deathworld Forest. Now, here's an interesting thing about Deathworld Forest. It appears to have good coverage, but kind of doesn't. So we'll see how you get on with that. It might be a little bit of a struggle. Mini Malk says red. What kind of red, Mini Malk? Because there are reds that are good for this exercise and reds that are not good for this exercise. So why is it important that Mephisto, great choice. Now, all reds are still going to be a little bit of a pain. All right. Nowhere near as effective as, say, XV88, Mornfang Brown, McCrag Blue. They're Calfan Brown. Wow, mind blown. There's a blast from the past. Do you lick your brush with Calfan Brown? MWK. Do you lick your brush with the old foundation paints? Holy moly, I remember the first time I did that. Occasionally. Do you regret it? Okay, so the reason I'm getting you to choose these colours is because if colours too light, they accentuate a lot of your deficiencies. If the colours are too dark, then they hide a lot of your deficiencies. And I don't want your deficiencies to be accentuated so much it demoralises you. And I don't want your deficiencies to be hidden so much that you essentially think you're awesome and you're not. All right. Then at the same time, Mr. Minford, hello. Then at the same time, if the paint doesn't have very good coverage, like snot green, dragon red, and things like that, or even dark angel green, because you get light colours and dark colours and medium colours that just cover like cack. All right, so dark angel green would be one. Snot green would be another for the mid range. Yellow would be a great example for the top range, unless you're going over white, in which case yellow is a one-hit wonder. Bam, straight on one color, one coat. Sorry. So I want you to be mindful. Now, this in itself. So here I am, yeah, just some guy on the internet. You've thrown a bunch of colours at me of mainly different brands of the ages of whatever nature, and I've immediately gone, that colour will do X, that colour will do Y, this colour will do that colour will behave like that brand will behave like that. How and why do I know that? The reason is they've all spent a lot of time on there, and I'm very aware of what choices to make with those paints. See how it all knits together? Yeah? Dragon red, not a great choice for a base coat over almost any of these colours. Yeah, so I've sprayed my palette black, so we will get to see how things behave over black, over grey, and over white. Mark Fisher says it's experience. Well, yeah, but it's not just experience, it's quite deliberate analysis, if you will. So yeah, and that's what I want you to learn: deliberate analysis. Are you aware of the choices you're making and the uses of? Yeah. You see, given that probably almost all of you are students to some degree, you all should know this. Now, you know, I often say that a lot of my students don't spend anywhere near enough time with me, and this is a great example of that. And again, it's not about dragging you in so you spend more money with me. It's not about that at all. You know, it's about getting you where you need to be. I don't do that many lessons. You know, the ones that do are gift to me, you know. Anyway, who's saying what? Test of opacity. Okay, so let me go back to my little list here, because I actually have written all this down in a very particular order. Right. So we're now going to deal with the comment that essentially all of you have written a billion times, and it's about setting your consistency. All right, because that is what your palette is for. I would say it's its primary purpose, other than awareness and choice. But awareness and choice doesn't ever go away, really. So when you all grab whatever colour you're going to use, yeah, wang it on the palette, and I want you to see if you can find that little optimal sweet spot. Now, for me students, all right, which again appears to be most of you, for me students, see how quick you can do it. See how few actions with the brush. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is don't fart around on the palette, yeah, for so long. Why? Because in hot weather, you don't have that time to fart around with. Yeah. And if you're a commission painter, you don't have that time to fart around with. All makes sense. You know. And also, it's challenging your mind. Yeah. It's not just about doing it fast. You don't have to do it fast because this guy here said, yeah, I'm just trying to develop you, challenge you in new ways. And when those things become second nature, you'll find a new avenue will open up for you, whether it be in quality or quantity. Okay, so to demonstrate what I mean, McCrag blue can be thick as you like, straight out the pot. It can be thin as you like on the palette. Yeah. Now, I never look for the consistency of milk. Anybody that tells you that, just spouting dogma at you. Alright? So, watch this. Bang. One coat, opaque, straight on. Yeah, that's Calidor Sky, by the way. Oh no, it's not, it's McCrag blue. Lying to you. So none of this too thin coats. That's a pretty lovely colour, actually. You can't shine any light on it. See, the thing is with YouTube, the YouTube camera doesn't do good at doesn't do close-up resolution very well. I'd love to actually give you full-on close-ups. So yeah. So again, you see how little faff I have as well. On black, bam. Opaque, you can't see it. Let's have a look. Let's jig some things around. There you go. Blue is blue. Opaque, one coat, straight over black. Smooth, flat, thin, neat. Any questions? Are we all getting on? What kind of results are we getting? Now, I got those results because the properties of McCrag blue are excellent, in my opinion. It wasn't all just me being like, hey, check me out. Yeah? Let's be real about it. Let's see what people are saying while you're doing you do. Big Caesar Miniature says you mix your own mid blue. Whatever tickles your pickle, man, as long as it's got a good coverage and doesn't make this job too difficult for you. At least not yet. Simon Minford, you found your skills dropped off a little after the lesson. It's not meant to work that way around, man. You need to get your hand in painting and then meet up again. Yeah, absolutely do it. What Mini Mark says, what material is my palette? This is actually some kind of foam plastic stuff. It's actually a shelf from a Warmer store generously given to me. Normally I'd actually cut them into smaller bits, you know, but in fact you just reminded me. I was going to do this earlier on in the lesson. Different types of palette. I'll go through this in a lot more detail at the end. Alright, different types of dry palette that are good. Games Workshop's palette paper, good. MDF, kind of good if you prep it right. Plastic, good. A well palette, which is one of these. I'd say they're almost essentially if the weather's hot. Very useful. CD, yeah, CD case, that's what some people are using, or some kind of plastic packaging. Good stuff. Wood, no good. Ceramic, no good. Alright. So, just to list the good ones. Games Workshop palette paper. Plastic, well, CD in case, and this weird foamy plastic stuff. Plastic card is good. Anything plastic, really. You don't want it a polyplastic that would melt with plastic glue though. Always undercoat it. If you're going to use MDF, do about 2 or 3 coats of whatever undercoat you need. Yeah. Okay. Tom Jennings says the XB88 is going nicely, tested it straight away and then let it sit for a minute and blah, 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 blah. Paul Cox says, why is ceramic no good? What if ceramics is spray coated first? So what about glass? You got some testers. Right, okay, yeah, glass, good point. So glass and ceramic are pretty much going to behave the same, okay? What happens is when wet paint goes over your dry paint, it will lift the flakes off the ceramic surface. All right, there's two remedies to this. Always clean your palette all the time and never paint on dry paint because it will flake up and all those flakes will go in your paint job. Yeah. The other one is, as Christopher Ball says, undercoat it. Again, undercoat it loads. Yeah, you don't want it lifting off. So whenever I used a ceramic tile, just never cleaned it in the end because once it gets a load of layers on it, it doesn't then lift off. Yeah, the paint kind of seals itself on. And then if it just got a little bit too colourful, then obviously I just sprayed it black or white or grey or whatever colour respectively that I felt the need for. Now when it comes to spraying the colour, by the way, me personally now, I don't really care what colour my palette is. I'm happy to use it whatever colour. Now I prefer black, absolutely prefer black, but I can use whatever. But we'll deal with that as an extra subject in a little bit. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so you're now finding out that using the palette is about finding this little optimal sweet spot that every paint has, yeah, and it's different for every paint. That's the thing some people don't seem to dig. All right, it's different for every paint, and I don't mean every brand, and I don't mean every color. I mean every individual pot of paint has its own sweet spot. Okay, so for example, I could have two pots of McCrag Blue. One that's 5 minutes old and gone all dry and hard. That's a little bit of a dig. No, you can have one that's very old and a little bit stodgy, and you can have one that's brand new. Do you mix them down with the same amount of water? Mark Fisher, still using your MDF palette and plastic wells. Good man. Chemistry is always slightly different. Yes, it is. Mini Malk. No! No to what, Mini Malk? Man, I'm going to need more water, I think. I feel like I'm on a roll tonight. Yeah, no to mixing with the same amount of water. So anybody that uses ratios, yeah, anybody that goes, oh, it's always 2 parts this to 1 part that, talking shit. Because their pot might be brand new, their pot might be 10 billion years old. It's got to do you no good if your pot isn't that. Yeah? Yeah, anybody that goes, oh, it's a 50-50 mix. It ain't. It ain't. You know? So how do you find out if your paint is optimal? You use your pallets. Yeah, and you watch what's happening on your palette. Don't find out on your model that you mixed shit. Find out on your palette that you mixed shit and adjust it so it's not. Yeah, and look, if you're just following a dogma, like, in fact, there was a question on the internet recently. I hope this fella's in actually, and because it's a really good lesson. He said, "Oh, even glazing didn't work. He's assumed he knows how to glaze. Having a glaze and being able to glaze are two completely different things." Yeah. So, heads up, essentially. Okay, Chris Denmark. Good evening, good sir. Okay, Paul Cox says, we're after the ideal end result. The start points are going to be different, so the route to your ideal is going to be different. Yeah, they will follow some pretty general principles. Tom Jennings says, so the pallet is like a bulletproof vest bodyguard to take the mistake bullet for the mini. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Why find out on the model that you've mixed crap? Yeah. Why find out on the model that you've mixed crap? Why find out on the model that you've set your brush up wrong? Why find out any mistakes on your model? Mistakes will happen on your model, but why not reduce them as much as possible? Yeah, using, again, awareness and choice and good practice on your palette. Yeah, you know, the dry palette brings in very little variables, which is the beauty of a dry palette. The one variable that you can't control with a dry palette is drying. Yeah. Whereas a wet palette is lots more variables you need to develop more skills for. All right. That's why great painters use them. They've got better skills. You know. Now, if you've not got them skills, wet palette might bum you a little bit. Not in every case, but you just got to know what you're dealing with. This will bum you in other ways, you know, but it's got less variables. It is slightly more difficult to use, but what does that mean? What that means is if you get good at using it, you've got more skills. And that's why I think we're here. Now, if you just want results and you're happy to buy a product for results, cool, go and do that. Yeah, I'm about developing skills, and that's what nerds me out essentially. Okay, any questions before we crack on? What I'd like you to do now is have a play around with a couple of different colours of different consistencies and varieties. Now you've kind of got the hang of the easy mode, should we call it? Yeah. Now you can get stuck in. Just have a quick look. I don't want to spend loads of time on this because I want to keep things rocking and rolling. So yeah, any questions? I'll give it a couple of minutes. And by the way, don't sit there like trying to paint a face or anything like that, because you know I've got one line, yeah, because that's all you need to know. In fact, that's a common mistake I see a lot of my students making. They'll set the brush up, they'll do a test stroke, they'll see that it's good, and then they'll do 4 more test strokes. Well, all those great test strokes could have gone on the model. So the question is what were they or what weren't they looking for? Awareness and choice was the skill underdeveloped in that case. You've all been subject to that. That much I know. All right. So awareness and choice. Now, actually, my test stroke happens in the mix. Believe it or not. There's a good clue for you. Painting lemon. At what point would I reprime my dry palette? When I'm sick of looking at it, or I get to tick a point off my list here. A dry palette is a permanent record of all the colour mixes you've used for whatever project. If that project becomes irrelevant, then it can get sprayed away. The other answer is if it starts to do me head in because it gets a little bit crazy and busy, then yeah, that. So this, it might need a respray. It's other than the odd bit of blue, brown and yellow, it's pretty monotone, monochrome even, but it's alright I suppose. Sometimes between projects like this, I also have a number of palettes. For example, this was one I did some airbrushing on earlier on. This is one I've been teaching private lessons on. So there's some good information on there. Some good information indeed. It's also a record of your consistencies used. Yeah. So if you hear a lot of people, they'll talk about, I can never remember what colour I mixed. Well, there it is. Well, how do I match it? Well, awareness and choice. Put it on the palette. Oh, it's too dark, that. Well, lighten it. Oh, it's too light now. Well, darken it a bit. Oh, what if I darken it too much? Well, you lighten it, don't you? You know, these you meet these, or I meet these people all the time. I don't know if it's me, but everyone's got an excuse, but this overcomes it. If awareness and choice is always the thing you're developing on this, yeah, yeah. There's a few good things on there. A little bit of a friendly competition, yeah. In fact, we'll do this one later on. Remind me. Remind me, we'll do that in a little bit. Okay, what else we got going on? Elliot Biggs, have I found a particular undercoat works on a better / broader spectrum of colours, or just personal preference? That's are you saying, do I think there's an ideal undercoat colour? Like, for example, grey, it's not too light, it's not too dark, so every colour should be optimal over it. Excuse me. So every colour should be optimal over it. No, every colour has its own pros and cons. But rarely white. Rarely white. Rarely grey. I do like black a lot. If I was doing a full yellow army, would I do white? Or would I just spray yellow? Because the amount of spray colours that are available at the moment now, there's almost no reason to not use them. You know, we're going to deal a little bit of aerial yellow later on. I think that's always going to be a tricky one, and always require a lot of patience and control, and awareness and choice. So personal preference is definitely a thing, and you definitely will get different results. Like, for example, painting a model in nice bright colours over black and one nice bright colours over white is going to yield different results. The white one will definitely be a more difficult model to paint as well, guarantee it. Okay, Chris Denmark says you could pop your minis on the pallet when you're undercoating them. 2 birds, 1 stone. Well, that's exactly what's happening there. So yeah, exactly. I like to go over all these though if I'm going to use this as a palette at a later point. Alex Smith says, "Bugger me! How did you forget this was tonight?" How indeed! Somebody forgot his water. He's had to do this class in his underwear, just like PE. You've got detention. Okay, G-Dub stopped making the yellow spray. I think they only do limited runs. They'll do a quick order, then when they run out, they're gone. So I like to stock up on them. What I recommend doing is shopping around some GWs. I mean, whenever I go into a Games Workshop and ask if they can ask around the area, then they will do, and you might find that a store's got a stash of these different colours here and there. So I'd recommend that, and don't forget to look in your local game stores and things like that. Absolutely. So give a shout out on maybe some Facebook groups and things like that. So yeah, keep a stash. Oh yeah. Painting Lemon says makes sense. Thank you. Ellie Briggs, undercoat colour, not brand. I tell you what, let's talk about brand, because there's probably only 2 that I'll use. The first one is Games Workshop. Very rarely use Army Painter. They were hell when I was using them, unless they've changed them. But I have no desire to go and look, because the ones I'm using right now are pretty good. Though no spray I think is perfect. Every now and again they have some weird flaws. Is that manufacturing, or is that environmental, or is that the user? I've never found a consistent answer, so I can only then blame the product. I'd love to blame myself, because if I can blame myself, I can fix it and make sure it doesn't happen every time. Some people go, oh, you've got to hairdryer it. Some people go, oh, no, you've got to cool it. Some people say, oh, not on a hot day. But any mistakes out of, say, Games Workshop aerosols, for example, I've always had inconsistent environmental reasons. Sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't, and it's never a consistent pattern. At least not for me. Right. Glyn Owen loves pink as a base for yellow. Not just pink though, is it? You know, there's anything like a white on there as well. Okay, Simon, you never would have put those two together. What does it add? I'll let Glyn tell you. I won't steal his thunder. Okay, so where are we at now? So hopefully you've played with a couple of colours on your palette. You've had a look at how they're behaving. You're getting optimal results now, which is what we want. But for those that aren't getting optimal results, what does not optimal results look like? Well, it depends. Here's a guaranteed not optimal result. Different depths of paint within your single brush stroke. For example, if I have overloaded one of these brush strokes, and I had slightly inconsistent load on my paint, there'd be thicker paint wings down the side of each of these lines. Tells me you've misloaded your paintbrush, which then tells me that you don't know how to use your palette properly. Okay. So let's talk about loading the brush. Excuse me. So brush setup and brush load. What do I mean by brush setup and brush load? Now I know this much. Not many of your students will have experienced this in detail. So you're all now level playing field. I say not many. I don't think it's many at all. If any of you. Come on, get your answers in. What do I mean by brush setup and brush load? Oh, I could get to tick some off my list. Consistency. We just kind of done that in a basic sense. Yeah, at least you should be a lot more aware now. You're looking on your palette as to what's happening. Optimal. We'll move into more detail about it later on. Build everybody up. We now have brush setup. Okay, who's saying what? Oh, Beardy1 has joined. Hello, old Beardy1. Okay, old Beardy1 says the amount of moisture in the belly before taking paint off the end is one part of it. Minimalk says setup is the shape of the brush, the load is the distribution of paint and water within the bristles. Yeah, kinda. Big C's Miniature says how much paint, how much water is on the brush, and where the paint is on the brush is a slightly better answer. Yes. Daniel Farris says that guy up above. Tom Jennings says shape of the bristles, how much paint in and on the brush. Yeah, all right, good stuff. Joel Davidson, hello, by the way. I've not said hello to you. Obviously, you're new in. Setup is your point, and load is the amount and consistency of the paint. Yeah. Paul Cox, the right size, shape, and bristle for the brush, the right consistency and quantity of paint for the load. Getting the brush ready to do the job you need. That's actually an addition to everybody else's answer. So you're all right to a degree. If I was to put all your answers together, you'd pretty much be right. Yeah. So it's about this. Do you know how to set the brush shape to do it right? To not just set the consistency in the brush to do it right. And as Big Caesar said, he's the only one that pretty much said is where the paint is in the brush. Yeah. Do you need a small, shallow setup? Do you need a deeper setup? All this happens on the palette. Yeah. Have you got too much on your brush? Have you got too little on your brush? Yeah. Is the water in the well feeding the paint in the tip effectively enough so that you don't have to force paint out onto a model? Yeah. Palette is where all this happens. Yeah. Have you overloaded your brush? Yeah. Do you get a big ass puddle at the end and you're trying to glaze? Oh, oh no, I always get that puddle everywhere, but I'm glazing. Oh, why do I always get that puddle? Well, because you can't glaze, because you can't set your brush up right, because you don't know how to use your palette, because you haven't developed awareness and choice. You see how it all works back. Yeah, try to develop your eye and your brain first. Again, hence lots of questions. So I'm at a point now where I'm talking now. I've just reverse engineered it all the way back to questions. The reason I ask you lots of questions and encourage you to ask lots of questions is to get you in the habit so that when no one else is around you, you're still doing it. You're asking yourself questions. Yeah, you're asking questions of your palette, of your paint, of your brush. Is this right? Is this right? Is this right? How do I know? What is it I'm looking for? Well, what are the properties? Okay, let's have a look. Brilliant. So, have a look now on your palette. Can you set a brush up to do both big and small brush strokes at a moment's notice? And some of you have had this challenge. In fact, let's do it easy. Let's do easy mode first. Let's not sling you in. So, brush setup. I said earlier on, there's a bit of a challenge here from students. You see this? How many opaque lines can you get out of your brush setup? Now, we're all probably going to be playing to different rules here because we've all got different types of brush. I've got a Winsor Newton size 2. I'm going to get a hefty amount of lines out of my brush. All right, but let's add some rules. Your brush setup shouldn't go more than halfway up the brush. Your width of line shouldn't be wider than your brushes before it touches your palette, because you can splay brush out wide. Your load must have a point on the end and not be plump and saturated. Yeah. Your consistency has to be as opaque as possible. Let's see how many lines you get out. Let's see how many lines I get out. Why would this be useful? There's a question. Why would this skill be useful? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. My brush started to die. I got scratchy lines on it, so I was at 11. I know with McCrag Blue you could do about 15 to 20. All right. So why is that? Why is it this an important skill to have? Why is it an important skill to just be a little bit aware of? I was thinking about the length of the line. The length of the line, two bristle lengths long. Because if you're doing lots of little you just got to get loads and it's cheating. Yeah, I've done about 2 bristle lengths long. In fact, no, I'm lying to you. I've done about a bristle's length. I've got bigger as the lines go on. But whatever. It's not as if I'm marking you on it, is it? Okay. Let's see what people are saying. Christopher Ball said 1. You only got 1 brush stroke out of your brush setup. Talk to me about your brush setup. Describe it to me. How big is it on your palette? Paul Cox got 4. How big is your brush? Mark Fisher says it maximises your painting time. Yes, it does. It also gives you more paint to work with that you know is at an optimal consistency. You get more strokes out of it, and you don't have to reset your brush as much. You don't have to wash your brush as much, and blah, 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 blah. Paul Cox, size 1. You only got 4 brush strokes out of it. Let's see if I've got a size 1 here. Broken toad size 1. Does that count as a size 1? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so here we go. Let's see if I can read down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Start to get a little bit scratchy at 11, 12 if I slow down and milk the well. 13, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, yeah, over 12-ish. So, we all should be getting lines that don't have scratchy marks. Yeah, should be getting lines that don't have like fat wings of paint where it's squished out the side because you've overloaded your brush. If you've got scratchy marks, you've underloaded your brush. If you're getting a puddle at the end, you have watered your paint down potentially too much. If you, the other answer is you might have applied too much pressure at the brush and disgorged too much liquid out of the well of your brush through the paint, and you've actually further diluted your paint. Another one, if you start off pretty opaque and get dilute pretty quick with no scratchy marks, again, you're probably using too much pressure with not enough load on your brush. Yeah, so there's lots of telltale signs that you guys will tell me that actually tell me what your brush setup was really like. So again, if you tell me you're only getting 4 brush strokes or 1 brush stroke, then there's something up with what you're doing, you know. So 1 brush stroke tells me probably not enough water. That'd be the first thing, all right, which doesn't mean go barreling loads of water in. Yeah, add a little bit more each time and see if you can sneak up on the sweet spot. Yeah, so sometimes making these corrections can be like a pendulum. Yeah, you think you're over here and then you go, whoa, you just swing all the way to another extreme, and actually you want it to be there. So I'd rather just go little and see if you can just sneak up on it. Yeah, because if you go to an extreme every time, that's where frustration comes from. Yeah, so add a little bit more each time. Then if you're still getting fewer brush strokes, like Paul might be, for example, maybe then the load isn't optimally as generous as it can be without, it's right on the line of being too generous. Yeah. See you later, Simon. Have fun. Paul Cox gets 10 after me feedback. Skills, mate. That's what we want. Right, what has other people got? So I've only got results in from 2 of you guys now. Tom Jennings got 8 using a size 0. Great stuff. That's really good because the smaller you go, what happens to paint on your brush? What's the consequence of using a smaller brush? Go out to try a size 2, although size 2 is a bit knackered, so you'll see. MWK says 7. With what size brush? Size 3. You should be getting more than 7 with a size 3. Wow. A size 3. Okay, Sean D, still at work, stuck with a biro and printer paper. Great for note taking, not brain practice. Nah, note taking's good for you, paint practice. Felt like it's drying quicker on the 0, could feel the drag. Yeah, you know, blah blah. Dan Farris says 13 brush strokes at a size 2. Yeah, good stuff, man. Mark Fisher, 9 with a size 2. Good stuff. Big Caesar. 11 with Element Games Regiment brush. Good brush. And good amount for a regiment brush. Right, using cheap synthetic brush, does that matter? Yes, it does matter. It matters because they hold less material, they hold less liquid, they hold a point not as good, but it depends on the type of synthetic brush. Is it a short, stubby miniature series brush? In which generally they have less of a pronounced well, synthetic brushes, so you'll probably get much fewer lines out of them anyway. How much fewer, I couldn't tell you because I don't use them often enough unless it's for things like dry brushing and things like that. But let's say 2/3 anybody else's higher answers would be decent. I've been in situations where people are using brushes like that, so there you go. Around watercolor type 3. I wouldn't know what one of those is. Yeah, not in synthetic. Okay, so now you're starting to look at your brush. Using this little exercise, this little competition, if you will, yeah, you're now looking at your results. You're going, well, how? I've put you in a position now where I'm forcing you to go, how? How do I get more? How? And now you're looking, and now you're analysing. And now that's what I want. That's what you want. That's what your painting needs. Yeah. Cheap synthetic ones. Now let's talk about cheap synthetic brushes just for a quick. In fact, maybe I should do a separate thing on brushes because I don't want to get too distracted. But you don't really want to be using synthetic brushes. They're not worth the money. You might, if you want bang for your buck, Element Games Regiment and Character brushes are fantastic. There's links in my YouTube comments, probably not on this video because I've not put them on yet, but in early videos, hit one of them links. Yeah, Character and Regiment brushes, bang for your buck, they're great. You know. What if you are vegan? Talk to Artis Opus. I know the guys that run Artis Opus, they're all vegan, and they may give you some reassurance or not. If it's morally vegan, which I assume it is because this is about painting and not health, then they would be the best people to ask. If you are vegan and you're going to have to use synthetic brushes, then what I'll do is, in fact, tell me what type of brushes you're using. Let's see if there's a high quality synthetic brush. Let's get them to me. Let's see what I can do with them, and then let's go from there. Say what size you're using if the print on AO brushes didn't run off so quick. Oh, right, yeah. It happens with almost all brushes. The print starts to come off. Yeah, even the old broken toads. Well, all brushes, the print comes off. It's as simple as that, really. Daniel Friars used synthetic for metallics. I don't treat metallics any different to normal paint, especially not on the palette. In fact, I get asked that question a lot. Do you treat metallics any different? The answer is no. Treat them exactly the same on the palette. Don't be psyched out by them. Anybody that says you've got to treat them different, no, you don't. Yeah, you weigh them up on the palette. You find the sweet spot for the job you want to do. Off you go. That's a principle. It just doesn't change. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, definitely ask Artis Opus. I know those guys are vegan, so go from there. Chris Ball, Winsor Newton, Cotman synthetic that are okay, but the tips still curl. That's that's synthetic brushes for you. So when I was using synthetic brushes years ago, start to use the tip. Yeah, as the tip curls, if you need neat lines, and you have to start drawing your lines like this. Yeah, it's kind of good for getting hard to reach places under the armpits of things. Okay, Chris Smith, you have an Element Games Regiment, and the brush often splits in two like a fork. Why? You've got a duff brush, so I always try before I buy. Not with paint, but definitely with water. Because manufacturing defaults happen. It's as simple as that. Happens with Winsor Newtons, happens with Artis Opus, happens with everything. Yeah, I will always try before I buy. Can I glaze with metallics? Yes. Chris Smith. So let's go to the palette because we're talking about the palette. Let's keep questions relevant to the palette. Can I glaze with metallics? Well, what result do you want with the metallic? Can you get it on a palette? And then are you happy to then put it onto a model? Yeah, use the palette. Find out. That's what the palette's for. It's an exploratory tool. Yeah. NWK has got a great answer for Chris there. Yeah, paint can dry up in your ferrule. So there's your bristle with a nice point. As molecules of paint, pigments of paint get in, it can no longer form a tight point. So make sure you never dip in your brush further than 1/2 to 3/4, and make sure you're washing your brush on a regular basis to prevent any paint drying in the depth of your bristles. Okay, I'd like to move on. Any questions relating to this? Are we all getting better results now? That's all I need to know. Are we all getting better results? Tell me what if any of you have increased your brush stroke count. I need to get some more water. Okay. Are you ready for level 2? I'm not going to give you a chance, actually. Right, level 2, brush setup. I like this bit. Okay, I mentioned manipulating the shape of the brush. Did we cover that one? Or then getting a fine point? No, we've not done the shape of the brush yet. Consistency of the lines went way up when you started paying attention to pressure. Good. 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 So that comment, Mini Malk, is a fine example of what I'm trying to do here. You guys, I'm not talking to you necessarily about these things. What I'm doing is I'm encouraging you to explore. I'm putting you in a place where you start exploring, start asking questions. Remember, a Duco, yeah, to draw out from within. Yeah, you guys already know how to do this. You've just been blagged. Yeah, it's all great painting is in you all already. Okay. Tom Jennings got good results with Calm Red X388. Seems Moot Green is a paint destined for 2 coats. Probably more in some instances. Did say Moot Green is just like a Moot Green. Oh, in fact, it was Snot Green earlier on, but Moot Green is about the same kind of green, by the way. Yeah, greens are tricky to get good coverage with. Castellan, great. War green, is it? I can't remember what the dark orky green colour is. Anyway, level 2. Challenge. Can you... I'm going to angle my palette here for you now. Can you... Right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, running out of paint. 8. 1/2 mil. Wide as possible. 1/2 mil. Wide as possible. 1/2 mil. Wide as possible. 1/2 mil. Let's see if I can angle. Let me just dry the brush. Dry the brush. Wash the brush. I know you can't really see that on the camera that well. There you go. Look at these. There's a challenge for you. You see them? Is it clear enough for you? I don't care how many. I care that you can swap, chop, change. Yeah. If your brush setup is no good, you won't do that at all. Yeah. Also, if your brush control, there's a slight red herring in there as well, by the way. Setting you up. Right, I'm just going to get a quick refill while you guys have a go at that. Do you know what's nice? The attendance for tonight has been pretty consistent. So thank you guys. Thank you. You've all gone quiet now. Have I got you there? Yeah. Does anybody know how I've done it? I know some of you have seen me do this. I hope you've remembered how and why. It's pretty simple, but it does rely on you having a good brush setup. If your brush is overloaded, you're screwed. If your consistency is too thin or too thick, you're screwed. Yeah? You've got to understand how to find the sweet spot for every colour. The palette is what helps you find that colour's sweet spot. Old Hammer channel, you've been lurking. Tip and side, tip and side, tip and side. Everybody go and follow the Old Hammer channel, by the way. They do reviews of artwork, of actual live artwork. I'm gonna do the do for you, Mr. Old Hammer. See as you've popped up. Let me have a close look at my ugly mug on there. There you go, check that. It's behind a 99% or something like that UV glass. I've got it all safe. So yeah, if there's any bit of it you want a good old close-up of. Man, there's so much noise. You know, when you can hear artwork, you know, I'd love to come on and talk art with you. You know, absolutely. Woo! Okay. Tom Jennings says you'd be interested to see a pic of everyone's pallets after this. That is a top idea. Get them on Instagram. Tag me in them. In fact, dry pallets rule. Hashtag dry pallets rule. Let's type that in here. Hashtag dry pallets rule. Yeah. For palette pics on Instagram. There you go. Ibanez Manchester is my other channel for guitar, by the way, which I don't really do anything with anymore. I might do the odd thing with it, but there you go. Okay. Does anybody notice, by the way, that I did very long lines instead of very short lines this time round? Yeah. Okay. Mini Malk says lots of red tally marks. I think mine looks a bit The Shining somehow. Right. Okay. Brilliant. So what do you think went wrong then, Mini Malk? Describe to me. Any particular reason for the longer lines? No, not really. I mean, it's just precision. You know, doing a thin short line is easy. Doing a long thin line, that requires concentration. So I say not really. It's just not true, is it? Doing long, consistent lines, whether they're wide or small, requires a good setup. You won't if your setup was like, let's say for example, if your setup was like 4 strokes, like Paul said earlier on, you're probably not going to get that second thin line, and if you do, you're probably not going to get that third wide line. Okay. I hope now you all are. It's actually, what have we done here? An hour and 20 minutes. That's quite a lot of time eating up that. I have to do this in 2 parts, you know. I wouldn't want to bore those people that go, it's too long. don't really care about those guys, if I'm honest. They can not have the information. You know, that's learn. I enjoy learning and developing. I don't care really how long it takes. I'll keep going, me. As anybody that's been on my course knows. Okay, brilliant. Right, any questions? You all seem to have gone quiet again, which kind of like. Mini Malk, for you, the thick lines ran out first. Their first half was red, second half scratchy end with a bit more red. So the scratchy end tells me your paint is you're not getting a good enough load on your brush. So let's assume you've created the ideal consistency. You've not loaded your brush enough, yeah, as plump as possible, but without destroying the tip, yeah, for this exercise, because that takes control, because that's a sweet spot of load, yeah. Now you don't want the paint too deep, 3/4, 2/3, yeah. Hashtag hasn't shown up in the chat. Why? Hashtag dry pallets. Can you see the comment by Ibanez Manchester? Shawnee D says you got to drop out. No Wi-Fi till you get home now. The video will be uploaded later so you can catch the rest. Sean, have a top night. Any thoughts on rolling the brush as you pull the line through? Now, if you roll the brush, what kind of risks are you bringing in to this if you start rolling the brush as you do a line? What kind of risks are you bringing in? You need to think about these things. And would you really want those risks on your model? I'm going to tell you a little trick as well now. All right, and I think we'll call it a day there. All right. So the way I do this, I actually do the wide line first to flatten the brush out, and then when I do the next line over, it's already flat, isn't it? So I'll just do that. The consistency and load of the paint is what helps the brush keep that shape. Yeah. I wouldn't do that on a model necessarily, but what it does do, it helps you understand how to reshape a brush and how to use its properties. Yeah. I need to oil this chair, don't I? Yeah. So, right, any questions? And we'll wrap this up. I don't want to go to a couple of hours, no way. LA Big, so creating a chisel-like effect. Yeah. On the brush, giving a strong line each time. Yeah. Now, if your consistency is wrong and your load is wrong, you won't be able to do that. Again, this lesson is about forcing you to start looking. I can give you all the answers, but that's not the habit I want you to have. You know, you're not a little chick going, feed me. Yeah. You try to teach you the skills in this instance in order for you to develop yourself, because the information is actually already in you. What you need to do is develop your awareness and choice. Awareness and choice happens on the palette. What happens on the palette happens on the model. You create shit there, you'll put shit there. You create shit there. If a shit set up on this, you'll put shit there. All right. Brilliant. All right. Any questions before we sign out? I've really enjoyed tonight. It was nice seeing a consistent attendance. I mean, it wasn't like the 40 odd people that we had last time, but in the last class, that number just went up and down and danced all over the show. Having a consistent number shows me that you guys are consistently want to be here. You know, you ain't just diving in and diving out. You've all really wanted to go the distance, and I've got to thank you for that. Mini Malk, you're welcome, man. Did you enjoy it? Did anybody not enjoy it? Some of those people that bogged off, which is good for me because I don't want those people in here then. Yay! So with that, you've now got a seed of a skill set growing deep within you. Okay, and make that a habit, because the more you kind of practice that awareness and choice of what your consistency is doing with your brush on the palette, the more aware of the details around that on an insane level, the better you're going to get quicker. Because when that attention to detail on the palette becomes second nature, that attention to detail will happen on the model as well. Your awareness of choices on the model will start to bloom and blossom. You'll be going, oh, hang on a minute. You'll start to see things coming up that you want to avoid, or you'll start to see things coming up and you go, hang on a minute, I remember how the brush behaved in that. I actually quite like that effect, so I'm going to go for it now. And you'll start to learn so much more. Yeah. So this is why I don't do parrot fashion teaching. I ain't just going to sit there and go, follow me. All right. Get you to think, get you to develop yourself, which will develop your painting. Awareness and choice comes first. So let's have a look before I sign off and say goodbye. Thanks for the lesson. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Penny drop moments. Brilliant. Tell me about your penny drop moments, Mini Malk. I like the penny drop moments. They're for me. Love the opportunity to learn. Cheers, Dan. Thank you. Elliot Biggs going to experiment with a few different paints and see what happens. Do the same with brushes. Do the same with palettes. Do the same with undercoats. Yeah. It's all awareness. The more awareness you've got, the more choices you've got. It's as simple as that, really. Paul Cox, thanks for your time and knowledge. Always good to revise basic skills. Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. These are the basic skills. Who else is teaching them? No one. No one. So then anybody out there that's telling you they know the basics, they don't know anything. Yeah, because the basics really haven't been taught anywhere. They really haven't. And now I'm putting it out there and everyone's going to start ripping it off. Probably doing it poorly and all, from what I've seen. Anyway. Thanks. Comment, stop moving. Old Hammer channel, that was incredible. Your manner is awesome. Oh, thank you. Cheers, Old Hammer. Thank you for another great lesson. Cheers, Mr. Fish and Big Fish. When the jumper's becoming available, when I get round to it, I need to look at some little details first before I go diving into these things. Yeah, like the Patreon page business. I need to look at all that stuff and ask myself what does the future hold, how, why, where and when, and then how best to do it. And so everything like that really is on hold for now. But thanks, Mark, by the way. I'll be doing post after today as well, by the way. So there you go. Painted. So Mini Mark, Let me just check I've got all the other comments. Minimax, your penny drop moment was paying attention to pressure while making lines, paying attention to how much paint was being soaked up while loading the brush. Both made an instant difference. Yes. Yes. And the beauty is you discovered that. You discovered it. Yeah. Oh, I'm here guiding you and putting you in positions where you have to see these things, but you discovered that. Develop that skill. Everybody needs to develop that skill. Okay. Old hammer. This. I didn't mean that. It's that shape, innit? Yeah, this. Oh, Pt1, thanks, Tommy. Welcome, man. Great session again. Great fun. I'm glad I enjoy having fun. It's one of the best things about fun is having it. Yeah, brilliant, man. Right. Thank you. Thank you. It went much better than I imagined, and it actually went slower than I imagined as well. So it appears I know more than an hour and a half's worth of teaching on just this subject. So yeah, we might do a part 2 on this business, eh? So thank you. Remember these links to my favourite brushes down below, and other painters' favourite brushes. Remember to go and talk to those guys if you've got any questions about ethics, etc. Blah blah blah. Yeah, recommended. I think that's about it. We're all done, aren't we? I'll see you on Instagram with the dry pallets rule kind of business. Old Hammer, order some Element Games brushes for. Oh, thank you. Cheers, dude. Brilliant, man. Yay. Right. Have fun. I'll see you all on the flip side. Have a great evening. Oh, hang on a minute. More comments flying in, distracting me. You discover your synthetic brushes are rubbish, but was able to improve despite the pro brushes because now you're understanding how to optimize your tools as opposed to just whinge about them like most other people would. Yeah, a good painter will take crap, and you like Ayrton Stenner will still probably beat you in a Fiat Punto. He'll put you in his Formula One car. You'll wreck yourself at the first corner if you can even get it started, and he'll be there going like that. Past you, because these people understand the tools better. All right, so increase your skill, not your shopping list, and your shopping list will follow suit regardless of what you can afford. I have often thought about doing a here's the shittest equipment in the world painting video, let's see what I can produce. It's probably going to happen. In fact, it should happen, really, shouldn't it? Remind me of that. Remind me. Because now I've said it public, some other nerd will probably try and get there first. I'm insecure like that. I need to not be. Right. Enough of me and my insecurities and whatever else. Thank you for coming. Honestly, it probably means something to me. And I care that you guys just get better in the best way possible. So yeah, do I have a Patreon thing? Yeah, but don't go there. I'm rethinking Patreon. I don't think it's the right thing to do right now necessarily. So yeah, all the Patreon guys on there understand my thoughts so far on it, and we shall see. I'm not encouraging people to give me money. At least not through that medium, not quite yet. Like I said, there's things I need to fix up first, so I'll be fixing those things up. Okay, thank you. Have fun being aware of your choices. See you guys later. Over and out. Bam.